Hi, champions. So, just reviewing week two, we did biosocial theory. Theory. They changed it, not theory. Theory. Biosocial theory, and M did that in the first half, um, and in the second half we started mindfulness and we did the states of mind and we did the what skills. The what are you doing when you're doing mindfulness skills? So I just want to give you a quick review of that, that may help with your learning and application of the skills. So biosocial theory is basically this theory of emotion dysregulation, this theory of emotional difficulties that says that um, when you combine a vulnerable sensitivity to emotion um, with a particular environment, um, that people learn certain things to cope. So the biology part of it is um, a sort of like a sensitivity to emotion where people sit high in emotionality. It doesn't take much to set them off. Then when they get set off, their emotions go high and take a while to come down. And it's in that bit where they're really emotional and really distressed and upset, that's when they do things to cope that um, uh, sort of aren't about what they really want, aren't about what their long term goals are. Invalidating environment is like a situation where people just have had experiences where um, they haven't had a lot of validation and communication of understanding, and that, in fact, that for various reasons can happen. And that when you combine those two things, people learn to cope in certain ways. Um, and that's the biosocial theory of emotion dysregulation. Kind of in a nutshell. I'm sure I've kind of skipped stuff and missed stuff, but just want to give you a broad overview of it. So, people with difficulties um, where they struggle to manage their emotional life, regulate their emotions, struggle with interpersonal relationships because of intensity of emotion, when they struggle with their sense of self because their emotions get really out of control and they get lost in them and it gets chaotic, where they do impulsive stuff. This theory, this biosocial theory of emotion dysregulation or emotional problems, um, is what DBT is based on, and it's a really useful theory um, to understand these difficulties. So in the second hour, we started with mindfulness and the states of mind. We talked about rational mind, which is that state of mind when we're planning and reasoning and keeping a diary and solving problems and trying to work stuff out in a kind of rational way. And emotion mind is when emotions are dominating our state of mind, where emotions are generating thinking, um, when certain urges are coming with the emotion. Everything's kind of, really kind of spicy and kind of full on and emotional sometimes in emotion mind, or really sad and low, and the sadness and the feeling of being low is generating certain sort of thinking and feelings of like hopelessness and things like that, agitation. And we talked about how in DBT we talk a lot about wise mind and how wise mind combines emotion mind and reasonable mind to come up with a different state of mind, a useful state of mind where you can know something to be true at a gut level, when you just get the meaning of this situation and the gravity of it and what you need to do, where you can see the truth, when you can do and act and be in a wise state and make wise decisions and choose a pathway that's going to be kind of more useful to you. You may or may not um, uh, you might have to do that even though you might not feel awesome and you might not feel totally happy, but it's kind of like the example we used tonight is when that client, um, when in a really awesome way, kind of decided that I'm in class, I'm really anxious, I just need to get out of here, emotion mind, and yet I don't know if that's the answer long term. That's what I've done before, and where has it gotten me? I need to do something different. So bravely they reached out, asked for help in that situation so they could do it differently, tried a skill. The skill kept them in class, And that was a wise mind decision to reach out for help, to validate the fact that the fear and anxiety is true. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling it, and it's real. And I need to kind of, it's not, this is just not about motivation and not about, um, I'm motivated to be here. It's just that when this happens in this situation, I don't know what to do. And what I do is usually get away because it's so overwhelming. So I need to do it differently. So I message for help, and that was effective and wise. That was the example we used. Good job. And we talked about the what skills: observing, describing, and participating. And observing is when you're just observing and noticing without putting any description on it, any labeling. Describing is putting words to your observation. So I'm describing what I'm seeing or feeling or hearing. Noticing, I'm describing what I'm noticing without interpretation. You're just describing it as kind of like a thought as a thought, for example, or a feeling as a feeling. And participating, when you're throwing yourself fully into something in the moment. Not worrying about the past or the future, but just fully in the moment experiencing what is. So that's a quick overview of what we did tonight, and see you all next week. Well done tonight.